real key to controlling your emotions isn't complicated. It isn't about suppressing what you feel or pretending to be calm when inside you're boiling. It's about learning the art of pausing before you react, creating a small window where choice enters the picture. Buddhism teaches us again and again. When you stop feeding every impulse with instant action, you stop being a slave to your emotions. Instead, you become someone who directs them, who uses them wisely. And this isn't just spiritual poetry. It's practical. Imagine the difference between blurting out an angry sentence that you regret for months and taking one conscious breath that turns a whole encounter around. That one breath is the start of freedom. If you want more calm under pressure tools like this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for weekly wisdom, and share with a friend who could use a calmer tomorrow. What we're really talking about here is non-reactivity, the power of not letting every provocation pull you like a puppet. The Buddha described the mind as everything. What you think, you become. If your mind is full of agitation, criticism, or fear, that's the life you build around yourself. But if your mind is trained to step back, to observe, and then to choose wisely, you build something very different. Clarity, balance, and peace. Think of it like weather and climate. Emotions are weather fronts. They storm and noisy and messy, then move on. Your mind is the climate. If the climate is stable, the storms pass quickly. If the climate is weak, every drizzle becomes a flood. Learning to hold your center is learning to build climate resilience inside yourself. Let me give you an example you've probably felt this week. You're in traffic. Someone cuts you off, and instantly your chest tightens. The reflex is to slam the horn, yell something you'll never actually say to their face, or stew about it for the next 20 minutes. That's reacting. Now, imagine another path. The car cuts in, you feel the surge, but instead of chasing it, you pause. You name what's happening inside. Anger, heat in chest. You take a slow inhale, then stretch the exhale. In that one move, you flip your body from fight or flight into calm regulation. The urge to honk softens, the story in your mind loosens, and you simply continue driving. Nothing about the traffic changed. What changed was you. That's the power of the pause, the gift of non-reactivity. Or picture this, a tense family conversation. Someone throws a sharp comment, maybe about how you're raising your kids, how you're spending money, or even your beliefs. Your old habit might be to snap back, to defend, to fight for your worth. But if you've been practicing this discipline, the moment the comment lands, you notice your jaw tighten, your breath shorten, your chest constrict. Instead of firing words that deepen the wound, you give yourself 3 seconds. A breath in, a longer breath out. You realize this is their pain speaking, not my truth. Then you choose your next move, maybe a short response, maybe silence, maybe a boundary stated calmly. The point isn't that you said the perfect thing. The point is that you stayed free. You didn't hand your power over to their mood. Psychologists today would frame this as response flexibility. Neuroscience shows that emotions activate fast circuits in the brain, pushing us toward reflex. But mindfulness, the training of pausing and observing, strengthens the slower circuits in the prefrontal cortex, the ones that handle long-term consequences and wise choices. Buddhism arrived at this long before brain scans. The practice was simple. Don't ride every wave, watch the wave, then decide. When modern studies measure reduced stress, better decision-making, improved relationships in people who meditate, they're really measuring the benefits of not reacting automatically. Now, let's zoom out. Why does this matter so much? Because our lives are not built on what happens to us. They're built on how we respond. Lose a job, and if you react with panic, your choices shrink. Lose a job, and if you respond with calm assessment, your choices expand. Someone criticizes you, and if you lash back, you add conflict. If you pause, listen, and decide whether to respond at all, you may add understanding. Every fork in the road is less about the trigger and more about your reaction. Master your reactions, and you master your life. And let me be clear, non-reactivity doesn't mean indifference. It doesn't mean you let people walk over you. In fact, it's the opposite. It gives you the strength to stand firm without being consumed. Think of a firefighter walking into a burning house. If they panic, they're useless. If they're calm, steady, trained, they save lives. That's non-reactivity. Strength with clarity. In your own life, the fires may be smaller, arguments, deadlines, disappointments, but the principle is the same. Calm saves the day. So here's my invitation. Start training the pause today. Before you open your inbox in the morning, sit for one breath, name what you feel, and notice the urge. Before you reply to a text, take one exhale. Ask what outcome you want, then type. Before you walk into a stressful room, pause at the door, roll your shoulders back, breathe once, and step in. These micro pauses are not wasted time. They are investments in a calmer, wiser future self. I know some of you might be thinking, this sounds good in theory, but in real life, I still snap. That's exactly why this is called practice. You won't get it perfect tomorrow. But every time you notice an impulse and delay your reaction by even 1 second, you are rewiring your brain. That 1 second is proof you're not just a bundle of reflexes. You're a human being capable of choice. And with repetition, that second stretches. The storm still comes, but the house doesn't flood. So let's anchor this part with a story. A friend of mine, Sarah, used to dread Monday meetings. Her boss was sharp-tongued, dismissive, and quick to point out mistakes. Every week, she left in tears or with clenched fists. Then she started practicing a small technique. She would write down before the meeting, trigger, boss's comments. Body cue, heat in chest. Response, breathe and choose calm correction. The first time she tried it, her boss interrupted her mid-sentence. She felt the rush, but instead of snapping, she breathed, said, "Let me finish this one thought," and kept going. To her surprise, the room went silent, then nodded. Her boss backed down. Over weeks, the practice transformed not only her confidence, but the meeting culture itself. She didn't change her boss. She changed her response. And that ripple changed everything. That's why this practice matters. It's not about becoming robotic. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about training a new default. So you're not at the mercy of everyone else's chaos. When you master this, your relationships change, your work changes, your health changes. Stress hormones drop, sleep improves, focus sharpens. And spiritually, you align with something deeper, an inner steadiness that doesn't depend on outside noise. So as we move through this video, remember, the goal is not to suppress emotions. The goal is to transform the space between trigger and response. That space is your freedom. That space is your power. And that space, with practice, can become the most valuable thing you own. If this resonates, hit like, drop a comment with the trigger you want to work on this week, and subscribe so you don't miss the next part, where we'll go even deeper into practical tools that expand that space. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about reclaiming who you've always been beneath the noise. So let's anchor this part with a story. A friend of mine, Sarah, used to dread Monday meetings. Her boss was sharp-tongued, dismissive, and quick to point out mistakes. Every week, She left in tears or with clenched fists. Then she started practicing a small technique. She would write down before the meeting, trigger, boss's comments. Body cue, heat in chest. Response, breathe and choose calm correction. The first time she tried it, her boss interrupted her mid-sentence. She felt the rush, but instead of snapping, she breathed, said, "Let me finish this one thought," and kept going. To her surprise, the room went silent, then nodded. Her boss backed down. Over weeks, the practice transformed not only her confidence, but the meeting culture itself. She didn't change her boss. She changed her response. And that ripple changed everything. That's why this practice matters. It's not about becoming robotic. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about training a new default. So you're not at the mercy of everyone else's chaos. When you master this, your relationships change. Your work changes. Your health changes. Stress hormones drop. Sleep improves. Focus sharpens. And spiritually, you align with something deeper, an inner steadiness that doesn't depend on outside noise. So as we move through this video, remember, the goal is not to suppress emotions. The goal is to transform the space between trigger and response. That space is your freedom. That space is your power. And that space, with practice, can become the most valuable thing you own. If this resonates, hit like, drop a comment with the trigger you want to work on this week, and subscribe so you don't miss the next part, where we'll go even deeper into practical tools that expand that space. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about reclaiming who you've always been beneath the noise. If part 1 gave us a principle, pause before you react, and part 2 showed us how real people like Sarah and Aaron use it in action, then part 3 is about the daily kit you can actually carry with you. Because theory without tools is like having a map with no shoes. The truth is, our nervous system needs rehearsal. Without practice, the old reflexes, anger, defensiveness, panic, will always run faster than wisdom. So let's build a training ground right inside your ordinary day. This isn't about sitting on a mountain or wearing robes. It's about weaving non-reactivity into emails, traffic jams, kitchen arguments, and bedtime routines. The first piece of the kit is something I call the one-page reset. Every morning, before your day starts, take 1 minute, literally 60 seconds, to write 3 lines on a scrap of paper or your phone's notes app. Line 1, trigger I expect today. Line 2, body cue I'll watch for. Line 3, helpful sentence I'll say. Maybe it looks like this. Trigger, tense budget meeting. Body cue, tight shoulders. Sentence, I'll speak slowly. That's it. It sounds too simple, but here's the science. Writing it down pre-programs your brain. Instead of being shocked when the stress hits, you've already rehearsed your response. It's like stretching before a run. You prevent injury. And I promise you, the first time you face that trigger and realize you're calmer because of 1 page, you'll never skip this ritual again. Next comes what I call the 3 ritual day. Think of them as anchor points that keep you from drifting into reactivity. Morning ritual. Sit for 5 quiet minutes, eyes closed, just watching your breath at the nostrils. It doesn't have to be mystical. It's simply giving your mind a warm-up before the world barges in. Midday ritual. Take a mindful walk, even if it's just from your desk to the door. Pay attention to your feet, your knees, your hips, the sound of your steps. Let problems shrink down to footsteps. Evening ritual. Practice 2 minutes of loving kindness. Whisper to yourself, "May I be steady, may I be safe." Then send the same wish to someone you love, someone neutral, and even someone difficult. This isn't about becoming saintly. It's about training your brain not to carry bitterness into tomorrow. I know people who swear this 2-minute ritual saved their marriages simply because it dissolved resentment before sleep. The third tool is what I call right speech shields. Every day we speak or type hundreds of words. Each one is an arrow or a bridge. Buddhism has a practice called right speech, which asks for questions before you say anything. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it timely? Imagine if half the world used those filters before hitting send. No more late-night emails you regret. No more text wars that spiral. No more Facebook rants that leave you ashamed. Try it yourself. Before you snap back at someone, pause and ask, will this sentence make the moment better, or just make me feel right for 5 seconds? Half the time, you'll delete it. That's non-reactivity protecting your future. Now, let me share a story. Michael, a teacher I know, once told me about a parent who cornered him after class, furious about a grade. In the past, Michael would have defended himself sharply, citing policy and student performance. But that day, he remembered his right speech shields. He breathed, paused, and instead said, I hear your concern. Can we sit down tomorrow with your child's work and look at it together? The parent's anger melted. Why? Because Michael didn't react to the attack. He responded to concern underneath. That's what this daily kit does. It gives you ways to meet people's pain without adding your own. And let's not forget the final piece, the compassionate postmortem. Because let's be real, you will slip, you will yell, snap, or send a message you regret. The practice then is not shame, but learning. After it happens, ask yourself 3 questions. What was the cue? What story did I believe? What tool could I try next time? Then, and this is crucial, and with one kind sentence to yourself, I'm practicing. I'm learning. Shame locks you into the old pattern. Compassion unlocks the new one. Now, if you're thinking this all sounds good, but will it really make a difference? Here's my challenge. Try the 1-page reset for 7 days. Write 3 lines each morning. That's 7 minutes total. By the end of the week, tell me in the comments what shifted. Did you notice more space? Did you snap less often? You'll be amazed at how small habits stack into a new identity. Remember, this isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming free. Free from the old reflexes that steal your peace. Free to choose how you show up. Free to turn storms into breezes. The more you practice these tools, the less life feels like one long fight, and the more it feels like a flow you can ride with grace. So before you move on, do 3 things. Tap like if this daily kit gave you something useful. Share it with a friend who's caught in reaction mode. And subscribe so you don't miss part 4, where we'll go even deeper into the mindset that makes these practices stick for life. Because remember, the world doesn't get calmer by itself. You make it calmer by how you respond. We've built the foundation, in part 1 by going straight into the principle of non-reactivity. In part 2, we saw how real people, Sarah and her meeting Aaron on the freeway, use that pause to transform their lives. In part 3, I handed you a daily kit that you can carry like armor into your mornings, afternoons, and nights. But now in part 4, let's zoom out and talk about the long game. Because this isn't just about a single breath, a single meeting, or a single road rage moment. This is about crafting an entire life that feels calmer, steadier, and more purposeful, no matter how stormy the world gets. This is where we take the lesson to heart. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Non-reactivity isn't a personality trait you either have or don't. It's a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows with use. At first, it feels shaky. You pause once, then react the next 10 times. You slip, you explode, you regret it. But you also notice, I did it once. That means it's possible. With practice, that one pause becomes 2, then 3. Then suddenly you realize an entire day has gone by where you didn't lash out once. The storms still come, but the house you built doesn't flood anymore. That is progress. That is power. Think of it this way. Every trigger is a training partner. The rude driver, the sharp boss, the frustrating email. Each one is not an enemy, but a weight on the bar. Every time you pause instead of react, you lift that weight, you get stronger. At first, the bar feels impossible. Over time, it becomes your warm-up. Eventually, what once wrecked your day doesn't even touch you. The Buddha described this as being like a rock in a storm, unmoved by praise or blame, heat or cold. The modern world calls it resilience. Call it whatever you want. The effect is the same. Life still storms, but you don't. Now, why does this matter so deeply? Because your reactions shape your relationships, your career, your health, even your sense of self. Lose your temper with your child enough times, and the Bond phrase, react impulsively at work, and your reputation erodes. Carry anger in your body day after day, and the stress hormones chip away at your heart and immune system. But flip the script, pause, respond calmly, choose wisely, and those same moments become opportunities. You build trust at work. You create safety at home. You protect your health. Non-reactivity isn't just emotional hygiene. It's life architecture. Let me give you one more story. A man I'll call Robert had a habit of blowing up at his teenage son. Every eye roll, every whatever, Dad felt like a challenge to his authority. One day, after a particularly bad fight, Robert's wife said, "You're not listening. You're just reacting." That cut deep. He decided to try a new approach. The next time his son muttered whatever, Robert felt the fire rising, but instead of barking back, he paused. He took a breath, unclenched his jaw, and simply said, "Sounds like you don't want to talk right now. Let's pick this up later." His son stared at him, shocked, and walked away. That night, for the first time in years, the boy came back to Robert's room and said, "Thanks for not yelling earlier." That was the moment Robert realized. His reaction wasn't just about him. It was shaping the next generation. That's the long game. And here's what I want you to remember when you slip, because you will slip. Perfection isn't the goal. Practice is. The question isn't, did I react today? It's, did I practice today? Every slip is just another rep on the bar, another chance to learn. That's why I call this a long game. Because the person you become in 5 years isn't shaped by a single explosion or a single pause. It's shaped by the thousands of micro decisions you make, the thousands of pauses you practice. And the miracle is your brain rewires. The pause that once felt like climbing a mountain becomes automatic. The calm that once felt unreachable becomes your new normal. So let's stitch the lesson together. The pause is the path. In that slim slice of space between trigger and response lies your freedom. That slice is where relationships are saved, careers are built, health is preserved, and peace is born. Widen that slice, and you widen your life. That's the long game. Now here's my ask. If this video gave you something, a moment of clarity, a practical tool, even just a sense that calm is possible, do 3 things for me. First, hit like so YouTube knows to share this with others drowning in reactivity. Second, drop a comment with a trigger you're going to practice on this week. Is it traffic? Family conflict? Work stress? Name it. Owning it is step 1. And third, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next practice we build together. Because this isn't a one and done. This is a community of people training the same muscle, walking the same path, building the same freedom. And if you want to go even further, share this video with one person in your life who needs it. We all know someone who lives on edge, who carries their storms everywhere. Imagine what could change for them if they had these tools. You might just give them their first pause. So let's end here with a challenge for the week. Choose one domain, work home or online, and become a quiet scientist of your own reactions. Log 3 moments where you would normally snap. Instead, pause. Take a breath. Notice the story. Then choose the smallest helpful action. At the end of the week, come back here and tell us what happened. Your story will inspire someone else, and together we'll build a ripple effect of calm in a world desperate for it. Remember, life won't stop throwing storms at you, but you can stop letting them define you. That's the lesson. That's the long game. And if you walk this path with me, practice by practice, you'll notice something sacred. Life still storms, but you don't. That's real power. That's real freedom. And it starts right here, right now, with your next pause. By now you've seen the principle, the stories, the tools, and the long game. But part 5 is where we dig deeper into the why. Because when you understand the science and the practice behind non-reactivity, you stop treating it like a nice idea and start living it like a daily discipline. This is about upgrading not just your mood, but your brain and body at the cellular level. Let's begin with what happens inside you when you react. The moment you feel provoked, whether by an email, a sharp tone, or a sudden honk, your amygdala, the brain's alarm center, lights up. It floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart races, your breath shortens, your muscles tense. This is useful if you're facing a bear in the woods. But most of us are not fighting bears. We're fighting words, glances, inconveniences. Yet the body reacts as if it's under mortal threat. Over time, that constant flood of stress hormones damages the heart, weakens immunity, disrupts sleep, and accelerates aging. In short, every unnecessary reaction takes days, even years, off your life. Now contrast that with what happens when you pause. The moment you notice a trigger and breathe, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural brake. Heart rate slows, muscles loosen, blood pressure eases, the storm inside subsides. This isn't magic, it's biology. One study from Harvard found that people who practiced mindfulness regularly showed reduced activity in the amygdala and increased thickness in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that governs self-control and wise decision-making. In other words, the pause doesn't just make you feel calm. It physically reshapes your brain to be calmer in the future. That's science validating what Buddhism has taught for 2,500 years. So how do we embed this science into daily life? We do it through practice that is small, consistent, and repeatable. You don't need to meditate for an hour on a mountaintop. You need micro practices scattered through your day. For example, when your phone buzzes, instead of grabbing it instantly, place your hand on your chest and take one breath before looking. That's non-reactivity in the digital age. When someone interrupts you, instead of rushing to talk over them, let 3 seconds pass before you respond. That's non-reactivity in conversation. When traffic snarls and you feel the old heat rising, whisper to yourself, "This is my practice," and breathe out slowly. That's non-reactivity in motion. The more you do this, the more you rewire the habit loop. At first, it feels like you're swimming upstream. But with time, the stream itself changes. The brain learns, trigger, pause, breath, choice. And soon, that becomes automatic. That's why monks can sit serenely through chaos. It's not that they don't feel. It's that they rehearsed thousands of pauses until calm became the default. And you don't need a monastery for that. You just need commitment. Let me give you another story. Margaret, a grandmother of 3, told me she used to be quick to anger at home. Her husband would leave dishes in the sink, and before she even knew it, she'd be shouting. But then she started practicing what she called the kettle breath. Every time she felt anger boiling, she imagined herself as a kettle. She'd whistle out a long, slow exhale before saying anything. At first, her family laughed, but over months, the laughter turned into gratitude. She wasn't the same tense woman anymore. She was softer, steadier, easy to be around. Margaret didn't just change her reactions. She changed her family's atmosphere. That's the ripple effect of practice. And here's the bigger lesson. Non-reactivity isn't just for you. It's for everyone around you. Your kids learn it by watching you. Your co-workers absorb it when you model it. Your friends feel it when you don't feed gossip or drama. You become the calm eye in the storm, and people anchor themselves to you. In a world addicted to reaction, tweets, outrage, instant responses, you stand out as the one who doesn't take the bait. That's not weakness. That's leadership. So here's what I want you to do this week. Choose one of the micro practices and commit to it daily. Maybe it's the phone breath. Maybe it's the 3-second pause before replying. Maybe it's the kettle exhale. Whatever you pick, do it for 7 days. Write down what you notice. Do you feel lighter? Do arguments resolve faster? Does your body feel calmer at night? These are the signals that the rewiring is working. And when you notice those signals, share them. Comment below with what practice you chose and what happened, because your story will encourage someone else to try. Hit like if this deeper dive gave you clarity. Subscribe if you want the next level of tools and stories. And share this with a friend who needs to hear that calm is not a myth. It's a muscle, and they can build it too. Remember, the storms of life will never stop, but your nervous system doesn't have to be at their mercy. With practice, you can become like that rock the Buddha described, unmoved, steady, clear. That's not just theory. That's your new biology, your new habit, your new life. And it all starts with the next pause you practice today. We've talked about the principle, the stories, the toolkit, the long game, and the science. But here in part 6, we take the final step, turning non-reactivity from a good idea into a living, breathing routine that sustains you for the rest of your life. Because let's be honest, it's one thing to pause once or twice. It's another to live day after day without being hijacked by every storm. The difference lies in routine. What you repeat becomes who you are. And the people who master their emotions aren't lucky. They are consistent. Let's begin with the evening, because how you end the day shapes how you meet the next. Imagine this. Before bed, you sit for 3 minutes in silence. You scan your day, and every moment where you reacted too quickly, you note it without judgment. You say, "There I was impatient in traffic. There I snapped at my spouse." But instead of shame, you bring curiosity. What was the cue? What can I try next time? This simple debrief transforms mistakes into practice logs. Over months, those logs become a record of growth, proof that the storms didn't own you. They trained you. Now let's talk about mornings. The way most of us wake up, phone in hand, scrolling news, heart rate already spiking, sets us up for reactivity before breakfast. What if you rewired that? What if your first 5 minutes each morning were a ritual of steadiness? Sit upright, close your eyes, feel your breath. Whisper to yourself, "Today I will pause." That's it. One line, one breath, one intention. Neuroscience tells us that intention setting actually primes the prefrontal cortex, the very part of the brain we need for wise choices. It's like charging your emotional battery before you even step into the world. Midday routines matter too. Think of them as recalibration points. You've made it halfway, stress has built up, and you need a reset. One of my favorite practices comes from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen master. He taught mindful bells. Whenever you hear a bell, a ding, even a phone notification, stop and take one conscious breath. Instead of letting your phone control you, you use it as a trigger for calm. Imagine the ripple if 3 or 4 times a day, every notification became a pause instead of panic. Your whole nervous system would shift. That's routine in action. But routines are not just about meditation. They're about body, too. Your nervous system is physical. So pair your emotional training with small body habits. Drink water before caffeine. Walk outside at lunch. Stretch your shoulders after long meetings. Science shows that dehydration, fatigue, and tension make your amygdala fire faster. In other words, the less you care for your body, the harder it becomes to care for your mind. So the full routine of non-reactivity isn't just sitting still, it's moving, nourishing, and resting. Calm is holistic. Here's the bigger picture. Your routine becomes your refuge. When storms come, and they always will, you don't scramble for tools. You already live inside them. Think of a pianist. They don't wait for the concert to practice scales. They practice every day. So when the spotlight hits, their hands already know what to do. Non-reactivity is the same. Practice when it's easy, so when life gets hard, you're ready. Let me share one more story. Evelyn, a nurse in her 60s, told me she used to come home every night burned out, snapping at her husband and cry herself to sleep. She thought she needed a new job. What she really needed was a new routine. She committed to 3 habits: a morning breath practice, a midday walk, and an evening gratitude journal. Within 6 months, she said, I didn't just get calmer, I got younger. Her blood pressure dropped, her sleep improved, and her marriage felt lighter. Evelyn's life didn't get easier. Her routine made her stronger. That's the promise of a fixed pattern of practice. And here's the truth you need to hold on to. Your routine is not for when you feel like it. It's for especially when you don't. The days you want to skip are the days it matters most, because that's when storms are loudest. If you can pause, breathe, and practice even on the worst days, you've already won. So as we close this part, here's my challenge for you. Design your calm routine tonight. Write it down in the comments. It doesn't have to be big. 1 morning intention, 1 midday reset, 1 evening reflection. That's it. 3 anchors every day. Do it for 30 days, and then tell us what happened. Because routine is how you make calm not just a skill, but a lifestyle. If this spoke to you, please hit like right now, so this video finds the people drowning in daily stress. Subscribe so you don't miss the next practice we build together. And share this with someone you love. Because we all know someone who needs to stop living as a victim of their own reactions. Remember, storms don't stop, but routines keep you steady. With each repeated pause, each repeated breath, each repeated act of kindness, you're not just fixing bad habits. You're building a new life. And that life is waiting for you to start tonight. By now, you walk with me through the principle, the stories, the toolkit, the long game, the science, and the routine. But part 7 is about something even bigger. It's about transformation. Because non-reactivity isn't just a set of techniques you pull out when life gets rough. It's a new identity. It's about becoming someone who doesn't just practice calm, but embodies it. Someone whose very presence changes the temperature of a room. This is where practice moves from being an effort to being your nature. Think about the people you admire most. Not the loudest or the flashiest, but the ones who feel unshakable. When others panic, they stay grounded. When others argue, they listen. When others collapse, they stand. You leave their company feeling steadier, clearer, more hopeful. That is the fruit of non-reactivity. It's not about being numb. It's about being free. And once you taste that freedom, you'll wonder why you ever lived on autopilot, dragged around by every trigger and every storm. The key is this: identity follows repetition. Every time you pause instead of react, you're casting a vote for a new you. 1 pause is a seed. 10 pauses are a sprout. 100 pauses and you're growing roots. Thousands and you become a tree, stable, providing shade to others, not toppled by every gust of wind. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it happens inevitably if you keep practicing. As James Clear writes in Atomic Habits, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Non-reactivity works exactly the same way. Here's a story to make it real. Helen, a mother of 4, told me she used to describe herself as the angry mom. She was quick to yell, quick to punish, quick to feel guilty. But she decided to test a tiny shift. Every day, she paused once before responding to her kids. Just once. At first, nothing seemed to change. But after a few months, she realized her children had stopped flinching when she entered a room. One day, her daughter hugged her and whispered, "You're calmer now." Helen cried because she realized she was no longer the angry mom. She was becoming the steady mom. That's transformation. It wasn't about suppressing her anger. It was about living into a new identity, 1 pause at a time. And this is the point. Your practice isn't just for you. It ripples outward. Every pause you take teaches your children that storms can be weathered without screaming. Every calm word at work shows your colleagues that leadership isn't about volume but presence. Every time you refuse to feed gossip or drama, you model to your friends that peace is an option. In a world addicted to reaction, you become a living example of freedom. That's not just self-improvement. That's service. Now, let's anchor this into something practical. I want you to imagine your life 1 year from now if you commit to this practice. Picture yourself in the exact situations that used to hijack you. The tense meeting, the stressful family call, the traffic jam. But this time you're steady. You breathe, you pause, you choose. Your blood pressure stays calm. Your voice stays even. Your relationships feel safer. Your body feels lighter. That's not a fantasy. That's the person you become through consistent practice. And it starts today. So here's my ask in this final part. Don't just nod along. Don't just watch. Commit. Write in the comments right now the identity you want to grow into. Maybe it's the steady parent. Maybe it's the calm leader. Maybe it's the peaceful friend. Name it. Claim it. Every pause you practice will be a vote for that new identity. And if you want support, hit subscribe and join this community. We're building that transformation together week by week. And as always, like this video if it gave you something real. Share it with 1 person in your life who needs to stop living at the mercy of their emotions. Because remember, storms won't stop. Life won't stop testing you. But you can stop reacting. You can become the rock in the storm, the calm in the chaos, the freedom in the frenzy. That's the transformation. That's the identity waiting for you. And the first step is the next pause you choose right now. If you made it this far, I want you to pause for a second, not just to listen, but to feel. Because this isn't just another video. This is a crossroads. You now hold a choice in your hands. To let these insights fade into another nice idea you once heard, or to actually step forward and live differently. The Buddha said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." And today, you practice thinking differently. Now it's time to become differently. Think about the storms you weathered in your life. Arguments that left you drained, mistakes that haunted you, sleepless nights replaying words you wish you hadn't said. Those storms don't define you. What defines you is how you walk into the next one. Will you repeat the old pattern, reacting, regretting, carrying guilt? Or will you practice the pause, breathe, and step into wisdom? That's the new path waiting for you. And I promise, it leads to freedom. But here's the truth. You can't walk that path alone. Every one of us needs reminders, encouragement, and community. That's why I'm asking you right now. Hit that subscribe button. Not just because it helps this channel grow, but because it keeps you connected to a tribe of people committed to peace, clarity, and strength. Every week, we share teachings, tools, and stories that sharpen your practice and remind you you're not walking this road by yourself. And don't stop there. Like this video, if it stirred something in you. Comment below with one situation you're going to face differently this week. Maybe it's at work, maybe at home, maybe in traffic. Write it down. When you do, you're not just engaging, you're making a promise to yourself, witnessed by this community. That's how change takes root. Now imagine this, a world where more people practice non-reactivity, where parents model calm for their kids, where leaders led with listening instead of shouting, where friendships healed instead of fractured. That world starts with you. It starts with the pause you take today, the peace you embody tomorrow, and the ripple you send through everyone around you. So, as we close, remember this. Storms will always come, but peace is always possible. And every time you choose not to react, you're not just surviving, you're transforming. You're becoming the steady presence others can lean on, the wise voice in the noise, the calm in the chaos. That is your power. That is your gift. Stay connected. Stay committed. And never forget, the next time life tests you, you already have the tools. Pause, breathe, choose, and walk forward with wisdom. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, live with peace, and keep adding wisdom to your diary. When this video ends, the noise of the world will return. Notifications will buzz. Responsibilities will call, and challenges will wait for you just outside your door. But here's the real test. Will you let this teaching stay on the screen, or will you carry it with you into the chaos of daily life? That's where the path truly begins. I want you to remember this. Transformation doesn't happen in the big, dramatic moments. It happens in the small choices, repeated daily. When someone cuts you off in traffic and you choose to breathe instead of curse, that's transformation. When your loved one speaks sharply and you choose to listen instead of lash out, that's transformation. When you feel the storm rising inside and you pause long enough to let wisdom speak louder than impulse, that's transformation. These are not small victories. These are the building blocks of a new life. And don't underestimate your influence. Every time you choose non-reactivity, you create a ripple. You model calm for your children, patience for your friends, steadiness for your co-workers. Without saying a word, you become a teacher of peace. And in a world where most people are ruled by reactivity, your presence becomes a quiet revolution. Here's the beautiful part. You don't need to be perfect. Buddhism teaches us that growth is not about flawless execution, but about continuous practice. You will slip, you will react, but every time you return, every time you breathe and begin again, you strengthen the path. Forgive yourself, be patient, and walk on. So, as you leave this video, carry one simple mantra with you. Pause, breathe, choose. Write it down, put on your fridge, whisper it before bed. Let it guide you through the week ahead. And if this message resonated, don't let it stop here. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. In the next video, we'll dive even deeper into practical ways to live with clarity and compassion, building step by step toward a life of inner peace and unshakable strength. Because this isn't just a video. It's the start of a new chapter in your life. And I can't wait to walk it with you. At this point, let's come back to the heart of the teaching. Emotional control isn't about looking calm on the outside while you're boiling on the inside. It's about reclaiming your freedom from the storms that used to run your life. Every pause you take, every breath before you speak, every moment you choose wisdom over impulse. You are no longer just reacting to life, you are shaping it. That is the essence of Buddhist wisdom, and it's not just philosophy. It's a practical path that any of. Think about what that means for you personally. Imagine the next time someone pushes your buttons, the next time traffic is unbearable, or the next time your loved one says something hurtful. In the past, those moments might have stolen your peace for hours, sometimes for days. But now you know the truth. You can pause, breathe, and choose. That choice changes everything. Instead of adding fire to the flames, you become the calm in the storm. Instead of regret, you create clarity. Instead of distance, you build understanding. This is not just a trick for avoiding. And I want to emphasize something. This transformation doesn't stop with you. Every time you practice non-reactivity, you change the atmosphere around you. Your children notice. Your co-workers notice. Your friends notice. People feel safer, calmer, more open when they are with you. And without realizing it, you become a teacher, not by words, but by presence. That's how the ripple begins. One pause here, one mindful breath there, and suddenly your home feels lighter, your workplace feels easier, your relationships feel deeper. This is how peace spreads. It's not through force. It's through. But here's the catch. This only works if you carry it with you when this video ends. Because the world will test you the moment you step back into your day. Notifications will ping. Someone will cut you off in traffic. Old triggers will rise up. And you'll face a choice. Fall back into old patterns or step forward into freedom. That's why I want to challenge you, right here and now, to make commitment. Take one situation in your life, the one that triggers you most, and promise yourself that the next time it happens, you will pause. Just pause, even for 2 seconds. That pause is not weakness. It is strength. It is you choosing your future instead of being chained to your past. And I don't want you to just think about it silently. Write it down in the comments right now. Share the one situation where you will practice the pause this week. Maybe it's during family arguments. Maybe it's when you're waiting in line. Maybe it's when you're under pressure at work. Whatever it is, make it real by naming it. When you do, you're not just engaging, you're creating accountability. You're telling yourself in this community, I'm serious about this. And you'll be surprised how much easier it is to change when you put your commitment into war. Now, if this message touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so the algorithm knows this matters. Share it with someone you love, someone who might be struggling with anger, anxiety, or stress. Because sometimes The people who need peace the most don't know where to find it. You could be the person who puts this wisdom in their hands. Imagine how different their day, or even their life, could be because of the... And of course, if you want to keep growing, keep practicing, keep adding wisdom to your life, then subscribe to this channel right now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next teaching. Each week, we're diving deeper, not just into ideas, but into real practices you can carry into your everyday life. When you subscribe, you're not just following the channel. You're joining a community of people committed to living with more clarity, calm, and compassion. This is your tea. I also want to leave you with a vision. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself a year from now. If you truly commit to this practice, imagine yourself walking into a room where conflict used to explode, but now you bring calm. Imagine waking up in the morning without the weight of anxiety because you've trained your mind to stay centered. Imagine your relationships softening, deepening, because you're no longer reacting, you're listening, you're present. That version of you is not far away. It's not a dream. It's simply the result of small, repeated choices. One pause. And yes, you will slip. You will react sometimes. That's part of the process. But remember, it's not about never falling. It's about returning again and again to the pause, the breath, the choice. That is where strength is built. And over time, those slips become fewer. Your peace becomes D. So as we close, I want you to carry one mantra with you. Pause. Breathe. CH, that's it. Date. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I don't take it lightly that you've given your attention, your energy, and your heart to this practice. My hope is that this video has given you not just information, but transformation. And if it has, then stay connected. Like, share, comment, because remember, life will always bring storms. But you don't have to be tossed around by every wave. You can be the steady presence, the calm in the chaos, the anchor in the storm. That's your power. That's your gift. And it begins not tomorrow, not next week, but right now.